Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling one of those questions that once it gets in your head, it just doesn't leave.
Oh, this is a classic. It's a pure logistical mystery hidden in one of the most memorable scenes in the entire series.
Exactly. We're going to be focusing on a character who is really the embodiment of mystery and contradiction when we first meet Rubeus Hagrid.
He's the perfect subject because his entire introduction is just a masterclass in controlled information.
Yeah.
The author uses him to create this immediate sense of overwhelming intrigue.
Right. He is literally the audience's and Harry's entry point into this entire world.
Yeah, and every single thing about him is designed to make you ask.
So let's just, let's unpack that for a second.
Yeah.
That first time you meet him, he's delivering baby Harry on a flying motorbike. And the questions just start piling up. I mean, right away you're asking, why is this man so enormous?
What's the deal with that pink umbrella he's carrying?
And who in the world is this young Sirius Black character who apparently just lent his illegal flying vehicle to a giant?
Yeah. And not just any giant, but one who has been tasked with delivering the most important baby in the magical world. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But what's so brilliant about the source material is that it sets up all these questions and that it pays them off, years later. It's this aha moment principle.
Exactly. Most of those initial mysteries do get solved, and the reveals are always incredibly satisfying.
So just to set the stage, let's run through those quickly. His size. We find out in book 4 he's half giant.
A huge reveal. And his expulsion from Hogwarts. The reason he can't do magic openly, that's the entire central plot of Chambers.
Yeah, we learn he was framed, his innocence is proven.
Yeah.
And even that pink umbrella.
Which is such a funny, endearing detail.
Right. But it has this really grim backstory. It's where he keeps the broken pieces of his wand.
And young Sirius Black becomes, the driving force of the entire third book. So all these threads get pulled together eventually.
Even the tiniest details about him add to this mystique. You have his famously poor spelling. He can't even get Voldemort right in his note to Harry.
Right.
But then in the same breath, he has this incredibly precise, almost academic knowledge of other things. I'm thinking about that geology lesson he gives in the hut.
That's such a crucial detail. That's the one that tells you he's not just some simple brute. He explains the difference between stalactites and stalagmites.
With the little mnemonic device, the M and the T stalactites hang tight from the feeling.
And stalagmites might reach them from the ground. That's not something you just know. That shows a real intellectual curiosity.
So he's this gentle giant, but his entire life is filled with these logistical puzzles.
And that's our mission statement for today. While all those big character mysteries get solved, there's one very specific, very practical mystery that never gets an explicit answer.
We're talking about his second meeting with Harry, when Hagrid tracks the Dursleys to that remote hut on the rock, surrounded by a stormy sea.
The question is so simple, but the answer is so cryptic. How did Hagrid get across the water to that island?
Harry asks him, point blank, and all he says is, Floo.
That's it, that one word. And we're going to break down every single possible way a half-giant could fly in the magical world until we land on the one answer that actually works.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's Harry's 11th birthday.
Yeah.
The Dursleys have gone to this extreme length to escape the letters. They're in a rickety shack on a rock in the middle of the sea during a storm.
It's pure Gothic drama. They think they've finally won, that they've escaped magic, and then, at the stroke of midnight,
bam! The door gets smashed in, and in walks the biggest man they've ever seen.
And after all the chaos, the cake, you're a wizard, Harry, the pig's tail for Dudley.
A classic moment.
A classic. The next morning they leave. And crucially, Hagrid steals the Dursleys' boat to do it, leaving them...
That detail is so important, and we're absolutely going to come back to why that matters.
But before they leave, Harry, being the observant kid he is, asks the million-dollar question, how did you get here?
And Hagrid just says, Floo.
Yeah.
F-L-E-W. That's the whole puzzle.
And when you hear that, your mind immediately goes to one thing. The only flying machine you've ever associated with Hagrid.
The flying motorbike.
Sirius Black's motorbike. It has to be the first theory we tackle because it's just so poetic.
It really is. There's this beautiful narrative symmetry. He delivered Harry on the bike, so of course he'd come back to retrieve him on the same bike.
It feels right. And we know it works. We see it again in book 7. It makes perfect sense.
Except it immediately falls apart when you look at the actual evidence from the scene.
Immediately.
Let's start with the most simple, the most irrefutable point.
The bike isn't there?
The bike is not there. I mean, it's a motorcycle. It doesn't fly off on its own. If Hagrid flew it to the island, it would have to be parked somewhere on that tiny little rock.
Right. And you've got to imagine this scene. A huge man just smashed down the door in the middle of the night. Do you really think he quietly parked a giant flying motorcycle out of sight?
No way. And Harry, who has just had his entire world turned upside down, would have noticed.
Of course he would have. Imagine being 11, you find out you're a wizard, and then you see a freaking flying motorbike sitting on the rocks outside. You're going to ask about it.
It would have been the first thing he said. Wow, what's that? But the source material is completely silent. Its absence is deafening.
And then there's the contextual timing of it all. This is happening just a decade after Sirius Black was sent to Azkaban. He's considered a mass murderer.
Very good.
So Dumbledore is carefully orchestrating Harry's reintroduction. Is he really going to have his ambassador show up on the illegal, unregistered vehicle of dark?
Probably not the best. Welcome to the magical. It's just bad op, even for that.
Terrible op. But let's dig into the pure the size. Hagrid's size is always the problem.
We know the bike worked when Harry was a baby, but now Harry's...
And Hagrid says this himself later. He remembers delivering baby Harry, how he could fit him in one. He was basically flying.
Right, but now he has to carry himself and an 11-year-old boy.
And he confirms this is an issue in Deathly Hallows. When they're planning the escape, he says, very specifically, not a lot of room on the seat with me on it, so you'll be in the sidecar. Sidecar, which was added for that final journey in Book 7. It proves that to carry two people, especially one of them being Hagrid, the bike needed a major modification that it just didn't have back one.
So even if he had the bike, it wouldn't have worked for the return journey.
Exactly. It fails on every single count. It wasn't there, it was legally problematic, and it logistically couldn't have carried them both back anyway. The motorbike is out.
Okay, so if the big, obvious vehicle is a bus, we have to turn to the most common, everyday form of magical flight.
The humble broomstick.
The standard issue wizarding transport.
Yeah.
It's concealable, common, it's the default answer for almost everyone else.
And you could argue it solves the visibility problem. Hagrid could have landed, leaned it against the shack. Harry might not have even noticed it in the storm and the chaos.
It seems plausible on the surface, but again, we run into a brick wall. And this time, it's a quote directly from Hagrid himself.
This is one of those pieces of evidence that is it's a firewall. You can't argue with it.
It's during his confrontation with Dolores Umbridge in Order of the Phoenix.
Yep. She's grilling. And he says, and this is a direct quote, "I don't fly myself. Well, look at the size of me. I don't reckon there's a broomstick that could hold me."
End of story.
That's it. It's a definitive canonical statement. He is too big for a broomstick.
And we have to stop and think about what that means. We're not just talking about a school broom. Even the fastest, most powerful racing broom, a firebolt, whatever, can't support his weight.
Right. These things are magically reinforced. They survive Quidditch matches, mid-air collisions. For Hagrid to say that none of them could hold him, it tells you something about the sheer scale of his mass. We're talking about a weight that just overloads the fundamental charms that make a broomstick work.
His size literally puts him outside the bounds of common magic.
Exact. He can't use the basic tools of his own world, which forces us to look for something designed for heavy.
So, with personal transport off the table, we have to shift gear. We are now officially looking for the magical equivalent of a freight.
A cargo plane, basically. We need something that can handle a half-giant. And this means we're moving into the realm of the more obscure or even the...
Let's start with an object, not a creature. An object that is known for its carrying capacity. Let's talk about magic carpet.
Logistically, a carpet is we know from the source material that they can carry loads. Barty Crouch Sr. mentions his grandfather had an Axminster carpet 12
people. So if a carpet can hold a dozen average wizard, it can definitely hold one Hagrid. The weight isn't the issue here.
No, the capacity is there. The problem is bureaucracy.
Ministry of Magic.
Of course. Magic carpets are explicitly defined as a Muggle artifact by the Registry of Prescribed Charmable Objects, and what that means is they are banned in Britain.
And the person who is the biggest stickler for this rule is Arthur Weasley, the head of the whole department.
He's obsessed with it. And Hagrid, for all his rebellious tendency, is still an employee of the school, which is under ministry jurisdiction. To so openly violate a major regulation on his first official mission for Harry, it's a huge risk.
It seems very out of character. He might bend the rules for a dragon, but this feels different.
It's a political landmine. And besides, we're back to the same old problem of concealment.
Right. A motorbike is one thing. A giant carpet that can seat 12 people. How do you hide that on a tiny rock?
You don't. It's not something you can just fold up and put in your pocket. Harry would have seen this giant, magnificent flying carpet spread out somewhere. It's just as visible as the motorbike, if not more so.
Okay, so the carpet fails on both legality and practicality. It's out.
Which brings us to what for a long time was my absolute favorite. It's the one that seems so perfect, so elegant, that it just has to be right. The skeletal winged. And they solve the biggest problem we've had so far, visibility.
Because you can only see them if you've seen death. And at this point in the story, Harry has not.
Exactly. So Hagrid could have flown in on a thestral, and to Harry, it would have looked like he was just floating through the air.
He would have literally just seen Hagrid flying. So when he says flew, it's the simple, honest truth from his perspective.
It's perfect. And who is the one person in all of Britain uniquely qualified to use a thestral for transport?
Hagrid. He is the only domesticated herd in the country. He raised them. He could have just borrowed his favorite one, Tenebris, the first one born in the forest.
And leaving it behind is no problem. Thestrals are smart, they have a great sense of direction, they can take care of themselves. Hagrid could land, send it home, and there'd be no evidence left at all.
It's an airtight theory.
It was, until the source material just slams the door on it.
It's that same devastating quote from Umbridge, isn't it?
In the very same breath that he dismisses Broomstick, he says, brooms and thestrals can't...
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It was such a good theory. But why? Why can't a thestral carry him? They seem so strong.
We have to assume it's that same issue of sheer density and mass. A thestral is strong, yes, but it's also described as skeletal, almost gaunt. Maybe their magic has a limit, and a half-giant is just past that limit. It overloads the system.
So even the magical creatures he loves and cares for can't actually support him. There's a certain tragedy to that.
There is. It deepens his isolation, so if even thestrals are out, we have to go even bigger.
Right. Grief. What about the other big creatures? He mentions Abraxan horses to Umbridge.
The giant winged horses that pull the Beauxbatons carriage, they're described as being enormous, easily double the size of a normal horse. Physically, they could probably do it. Timing. The friend he mentions who breeds them is Madame. He doesn't meet her until book 4. During the Triwizard Tournament. In book 1, he just doesn't have that no access.
Okay, so no Abrax, and hippogriffs are about the same size as thestrals, so they're out by the same logic.
Right.
That leaves dragon.
A Ukrainian iron belly, like the one from Grenga, could carry Hagrid without even noticing he was there. Its weight capacity is basically unlimited for this purpose.
But again, it's timing. Hagrid doesn't get his dragon, Norbert, until after he's already brought Harry to Hogwarts.
And even then, Norbert was a baby. He was about the size of a small turkey, so no dragons available at the time.
Wow. So we've ruled out the motorbike, the broom, the carpet, thestrals, hippogriffs, abraxans, and dragons. Every single physical mode of transport seems to be a dead end.
Which means we have to stop thinking about a vehicle and start thinking about the magic itself. Or maybe the words.
Okay, if we've exhausted all the physical objects and creatures, we're left with two paths. Either we're misunderstanding what Hagrid said, or he used a form of magic that doesn't require a vehicle at all.
Let's take the first path, the linguistic loophole. The entire mystery hinges on that one single word, flu.
What if it's a homophone? What if he didn't say F-L-E-W?
He said flu powder. Exactly, the Floo Network. It's a totally viable magical transportation system. It would get him across the water instantly, no vehicle required.
And this theory is very tempting because for it to work, you need one specific thing in the hut.
Fireplace. And what does this dilapidated, sea-battered shack just happen to have?
The fireplace.
It's almost too convenient. And we know the Ministry can connect any fireplace to the network if they need to. Arthur Weasley does it to the Dursleys' boarded-up fireplace in book 4.
So it's technically possible Dumbledore just quickly authorized the hut on the Rock's fireplace for a one-time trip. It's subtle. It's bureaucratic, very Ministry of Magic.
And it allows Hagrid to be technically honest while still being completely mysterious. It's a very clever idea.
But there's always a but.
The entrance. The source material couldn't be clearer. Hagrid enters by breaking down the front door.
Right. He apologizes for it. Sorry about that. If he'd used the Floo Network, he would have just stepped out of the fire.
His actions prove he came from outside, not from inside.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second. Because Hagrid is a showman. He's there to make a massive impression on Harry. Couldn't he have arrived by Floo, stepped out, and then going outside to smash the door in for pure dramatic effect?
That's a fantastic point, and it's totally in character for him. He absolutely would do that.
He waited until the stroke of midnight. The whole thing was theater.
It was, but there's a small detail that works against it. Floo travel is sooty. When people use it, they're often described as being covered in ash. Harry is paying very close attention to Hagrid. He describes his huge coat, his beetle black eyes, his tangled hair, but he never mentions soot. He does, however, mention that he's wet.
Which means he was definitely outside in the rain, not inside a chimney. The Floo theory, as elegant as it is, just doesn't fit the physical evidence.
It does. So that brings us to our second path, advanced vehicleless magic.
Let's start with the most obvious one for wizard, apparition.
Magical teleport. And this one is ruled out, I think, for 3 very solid reasons. First, the legal reason. You need a license to apparition. Hagrid was expelled. His wand was snapped. There is a 0% chance the Ministry gave him a...
Okay, it's a big...
Second, the technical. Apparition is really hard. It requires immense concentration and a fully functioning wand. Hagrid is using a broken wand hidden in an umbrella. His magic is powerful, but it's crude and often accidental. He's not performing clean, precise, advanced magic.
And the third reason must be his size.
It always comes back to the size. The books hint that being large and dense makes apparition much more difficult. The instructor for the apparition lessons described as
So trying to teleport a half-giant's mass would be incredibly dangerous. The risk of splinching, leaving parts of yourself behind would be huge.
astronomical. And if he could apparate, why did he need Sirius's bike to deliver Harry in the first place? Why did you have to walk for weeks to meet the giants in Book 5? It's just not a skill he has.
Apparition is definitely out, which leaves only one other known form of vehicle-less flight.
Voldemort's. The dark magic that allows him and later Snape fly without...
And we can dismiss this one pretty quickly.
Instantly. It's incredibly advanced dark magic. It's totally contrary to Hagrid's character. And it's something Voldemort would never, ever have taught. It's a non-starter.
So we're at a dead end. The motorbike, the broom, the carpet, the thestrals, the Floo Network, apparition, they're all impossible. We've ruled everything.
We've ruled everything conventional out, which means the answer has to be something truly accepted, something that operates by a different set of magical rules entirely.
Okay, so after systematically dismantling every single theory, we're left looking for a solution that can carry immense weight, that can appear and disappear instantly, that requires no ministry paperwork, and that answers to a higher power than, basic magical law.
And when you list all those requirements, one answer suddenly shines. The only creature in the entire magical world that fits every single one of those criteria is Fawkes.
Dumbledore's Phoenix.
Dumbledore's Phoenix. It is the most elegant and I think the most satisfying answer to the whole puzzle.
Let's tackle the most immediate objection right away. The size. Fawkes is a swan-sized bird. Hagrid is a half-giant. It seems impossible.
And that's because we're thinking it in terms of physics, not magic. A phoenix's lifting power is not about its wingspan or muscle. It's a fundamental magical property of the creature.
Right. It's not bound by the normal rules.
Not at all. And we have irrefutable proof of this in Chamber of Secrets. Fawkes flies down into the chamber, carries the sorting hat and the sword, and then
lifts 4 people out. Harry, a weakened Ginny, Ron, and a fully grown, unconscious Gilderoy Lockhart.
Exactly. 4 people. The combined weight of those 4 is easily comparable to Hagrid's single mass. If Fawkes can lift them without any visible strain, he can absolutely lift Hagrid. The weight problem, the one that disqualified every other creature.
Okay, so Fawkes can lift him, but why would he? Phoenixes don't just show up on command. They're not a magical Uber service.
No, they are not. They are called by something very specific. Dumbledore tells Harry this himself. Nothing but that could have called Fawkes.
Loyalty.
Fierce, unwavering loyalty to Albus Dumbledore.
And if there is one single defining trait of Rubeus Hagrid, it's that. His absolute devotion to Dumbledore.
And that loyalty is on full, explosive display right there in the hut on the rock. It's the emotional core of the entire scene.
You're talking about when Uncle Vernon insults Dumbledore.
Yes. Hagrid goes from this gentle giant to a figure of absolute fury. He bends Vernon's shotgun into a knot and bellows that iconic line, "Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me."
That's the trigger.
That has to be the trigger, that white-hot moment of pure loyalty happening while he is on Dumbledore's most important mission. That is the magical flare that would summon Fawkes.
So we can picture it. Hagrid tracks him to the coast. He's stuck. He can't get across the water. He's frustrated, but determined to complete the mission for Dumbledore.
And in that moment of intense focus and loyalty, Fawkes appears, lifts him across the water, drops him off, and vanishes.
So when Harry asks how he got there, his answer, flew, is the simple truth.
It's perfect, but it raises one last question.
If Fawkes delivered him, why isn't he still there in the morning? Why didn't Harry see a giant magical flaming bird?
Because Fawkes' job was done. The immediate task transporting Hagrid across the water was complete. He's Dumbledore's aide, not a permanent access. He would have vanished the second Hagrid's feet hit the rock.
And this plays into Dumbledore's whole strategy, doesn't it? He's carefully managing Harry's introduction to magic.
Starting him off with a big, friendly, trustworthy giant who makes him a birthday cake is one thing. Starting him off with a mythical, fire-breathing creature of legend might be a bit overwhelming.
But there's a more mischievous reason, isn't there? It all comes back to the Dursleys.
It all comes back to Dumbledore's absolute delight in messing with the Dursleys.
He had already flooded their house with letters. He forced them to this miserable, isolated rock. This was the final move in the chess game.
Think about it. If Hagrid had arrived on the motorbike, thestral, or anything that had to also provide the return journey, the Dursleys would still have their boat. They could have...
But by using Fawkes, who vanishes without a trace.
Hagrid is free to steal their boat for the trip back to the main. It's the perfect crime. Dumbledore didn't just want Harry retrieved. He wanted Vernon and Petunia to be left utterly comically strange.
The theft of the boat isn't just a funny detail, it's proof. The mode of transport had to be one that could disappear, leaving no way off the island. It was part of the plan.
It's the ultimate Dumbledore Hagrid. It's magic powered by loyalty, executed by a creature of legend, all to complete the mission And as a bonus, play the perfect prank, truly awful. He flew, all right? He flew on the back. So after going down every rabbit hole, it's clear the answer wasn't about finding a bigger vehicle or a more powerful spell in the sense. It was about understanding the emotional core of that.
Right. Physical constraints, the weight, the visibility, the legality, they all systematically pointed away from every common solution. They were red herring.
They forced us to look for a different kind of magic. Not the kind you learn from a book, but the kind that stems from character, from loyalty.
We proved the motorbike was too conspicuous, the broom was too weak, the carpet too illegal, and even the mighty thestrals just weren't mighty enough. Eliminating all of those options leads you directly to Fawkes.
He's the only one who could be summoned by that intense loyalty, handle the massive payload, and then vanish instant, which, as we said, was key to the final part of the plan.
Stranding the Dursley.
Which Hagrid clearly enjoyed.
So Hagrid's one-word answer, flew, was the perfect summary. It was technically true, but completely opaque, preserving the mystery for Harry while hiding this incredibly powerful personal magic that operates just for Dumbledore's inner circle. So we now know how Hagrid flew. And in doing so, we've confirmed that Dumbledore was not just a passive observer. He was an active, strategic player in Harry's life, right down to orchestrating elaborate pranks on his guardian. That confirmation leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener.
Given that we now know Dumbledore has the means and the motive to orchestrate these subtle, untraceable magical interventions, what other small, seemingly random or accidental events in Harry's childhood might not have been accidents at all?
Think about that. How many times did something strange happen around Harry at the Dursley? How many of those might have been Dumbledore pulling strings from the shadows, offering a little bit of protection, or maybe just shaping the narrative all hidden in plain sight?
Was Fawkes a one-time thing, or was Dumbledore's magical safety net always there, just out of view? Something for you to chew on for your own deep dive. Thanks for